Hi there, this is Chris from MoneyHub, and this video overviews our guide to joint bank accounts. So we've put this together so people know the pros and cons of joint bank accounts and the risks involved. While they sound like a good idea, they have caused problems in the past, so we want to just make everything clear so people can consider what's right for them before they enter into something which they may regret later. So as a background, joint bank accounts are first used by young students really in their life, probably at 19, 20 if they're sharing a flat. Then yes, it's very normal to have a joint bank account where everyone pays in a certain amount. Then shared expenses like the power bill and things like that go out of it, food and things. Then if you're flatting sort of out of uni or out of student life, then yeah, sure, a joint bank accounts come up. But where they are more problematic, and perhaps where this guide focuses the most on, is with relationships. So what we've done is we've put through what you need to know, how they work, the pros and cons, and then we've looked at the different joint bank accounts on offer. So more or less all the banks offer them, and the reason is because they're kind of standard bank accounts just with two names or two or more names. And then we looked at what the disputes can be, and then must know facts plus the frequently asked questions. So generally, I've just written a summary here that you don't actually need one if you have a trusting relationship, but sadly, or fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of people don't. So there is a risk that they need a joint bank account just to kind of control money. But then that creates its own problems of if someone spends money that's not really for the purposes of the relationship. And so there's a whole bunch of information here which I've just kind of personally sort of written to kind of bring out the finer details that people often overlook or don't kind of want to know. And then there's a disagreement when someone goes down to the TAB and spends on it, but that money should have been for something else. So I won't drone on there, but it's certainly worth having a read of what I've written because it's come from a lot of MoneyHub user people writing in, and just general feedback I've had over the years. So that's all summarized there. Then we look at what is a joint account, and so you can use them for savings accounts and also for term deposits, but most people would use them for transactions. So that's your everyday bank account. And in such a situation, you may have your own personal account still, which is always a good idea, but then you come together and you share a joint bank account with someone that you're in a relationship with. So why would you want them? Really, it's about sharing the costs, and then sort of sharing, joint expenses or things that you save up for together and perhaps pay for together, like holidays or something to be fixed in your property, or some sort of appliance, or shopping, or anything like that. We have touched on people looking at going into business together, but really that's not really the focus of the guide. It's looking at these personal relationships. So how do they work? Let's just explain that quite quickly. So everyone has full access to them, which means that everyone has the same sort of access and permissions. So everyone can spend money, everyone can put in money, but usually it's the spending that becomes contentious, not so much the putting in the money. So people can restrict access to somebody else, but you really have to make sure what's happening with the bank. And the banks don't really like to get involved in these kind of hassles because it's kind of, there's two people involved. If someone has a dispute with the other, it's not really for the bank to sort out. So there is also a risk that if the joint account has an overdraft, then you're both liable. Now this is a problem because people can get into $2,000, $3,000 overdrafts. Suddenly the relationship breaks up. What's happening with this overdraft? Who does that belong to, and why is someone having to pay it off when they say that they didn't actually incur the debts? So my view here is that it's really good idea not to have an overdraft in the first place, just because it's always going to be risky and it's always going to be cost a lot of money from the interest. We've done a lot of research there. So just keep that in mind. Then we've looked at how to apply for them. It's pretty standard. You just need your IDs. Some of the banks just let you sign up online. Some of them want to meet you in branch first. But that's really, it's a standard situation for opening up any bank account, really. And then sort of moving on to the pros and cons. So it is simple. They do make life easy. Like you don't have to worry about, the broadband bill came, I need your $42 and I'll put in $42 and a whole bunch of hassle. Like the money just goes out. But at the same time, it's the shared access to money and it's the free spending that's problematic. So this is when you've got someone in the relationship who thinks nothing of going to spend money on for their own needs, also for their own wants, and that may create some tension or some difficulties. I've seen this 1,000 times with other relationships, but it is just a fact of life that these things do happen. So you have to be very careful here how you approach it and what you agree that the joint account's going to be for and what it's not going to be for, because ultimately so it's both of your money and you're also responsible for the debt that's incurred as well if you do go into overdraft. So you have to have those conversations up front and get into the same mindset and have a general agreement there. Otherwise things can be a little bit off. We've just gone through and looked at all the options here. So there's 6 banks which are quite comfortable in doing joint bank accounts. There are some small little operations that will do them, but we're focused on these 6. One bank, for example, Heartland, which offers quite a good it's got a strong general like everyday account that's not offering joint accounts for whatever reason, but we've named the 6 here. Usually small fees or no fees on them depending what bank account you get, and seldom do they actually pay interest just because they don't really want to do that. And you will be charged interest if it goes into overdraft, but they don't pay interest on any positive balances. So we've just said that the best kind of joint account is one with no fees or very low fees, and then no overdraft, and then easy access and control. So that's really what you want. We don't want anything that's too fancy or too costly, just nice and simple that everyone understands it. So dealing with disputes, we've talked about this. I don't really want to get into this because it's kind of what can happen later, but it's just talking about what the process would be to resolve those. Then looking at must-know facts and just things to consider here. Really, this is really important that you have a thorough read through it, so that you know that you can have your own accounts as well, and at the same time you are combining a potential debt by opening up a joint account. And so there are issues there, as I kept saying a few minutes ago. Then looking at what's the other person's mindset towards money. Will they spend like you do? Are they likely to spend more? Are they likely not to put so much money in? What's the deal there? So you just need to really understand what it means for you, because ultimately it is your risk as well, and it is your money. So we've just said to take precautions, make sure that people that you trust and you'd actually sort of rely on them to be able to use your money, because it is part of your money, to spend it wisely. Frequently asked questions, I won't go through too much of these, but really worthwhile just to understand what you need to know. So thanks very much for watching this, and best of luck with your joint account decisions. We think that they are a great idea for when they're used correctly, but of course there are lots of risks with them. So please let us know if you have any comments. You can write down below. I've linked the guide, so you can also link back to that and have a read, and also you can always email MoneyHub as well and we'll respond. Thanks very much for watching.